Welcome to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devon.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you.
Hey, mama, hey. Well, I don't have my mama here with me today. I have her husband.
You don't sound so excited.
I'm not. But we are going to make this work. If this is your first time listening, I'm your host, Devon, and usually my bestie is here with me, Kendra. But we're doing things a little different today, and we'll get into that. But welcome to the Real Mama Pod. If this is your first time listening, we need you to stop what you're doing and write us a review. We are trying to become a household name this year. We are monetizing this year. We are speaking that all into existence. So give us the 5 stars, chat GPT your review. I don't care what you do. Just put some letters, formulate some sentences, and get us a review, okay? Also, check out our merch. We have stuff for dads. Ferg, I really wish you would have worn your dad hat today, but it's all right. We have stuff for dads, mamas, aunties, uncles, you name it, we got it. And Kendra just gave us a fabulous idea about having grandparent merch. And I think that's what's going to seal the deal, because y'all a little slow on the purchases, but I get it, the economy. But if you're looking for some merch, definitely check us out. So, Ferg, you know stranger here. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, for having me.
Yeah, so the reason why he's here, okay, we're doing little things a little different. So if you guys don't know, Ferg and I went to college together. We were actually friends before Kendra and I, and we studied psychology together, and it was like a big sister, little brother thing going on, you know? And so at one point, I was the president of the psychology club. You were my VP. You saved me when I was online. I remembered I was coming to some meeting, and you was like, I already know you're online. Like, I don't know why you're trying to hide. Held me down for that. But yeah, and then, of course, naturally, we got closer because Kendra and I are best friends. You are married to her. But we are both psychologists. And so you're doing something really cool, taking a leap and going to private practice. Yep. So we thought it would be great to have a conversation to talk about private practice as well as school and how it kind of collaborates with each other and some of the services that you offer. Yeah. So welcome to the pod again for like the 100th time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited to be here for like the 100th time. And excited to have this conversation. Yeah. Because it is a leap for sure. It's something new, but also not. Yeah. Right? Like it's still very familiar just doing it in a different space and doing it in a different way, but doing the same work, the same service. Right. So I'm excited to have a chance to talk about that, as well as to talk about ways in which like our different spaces of school and private practice can work together and collaborate for the sake of families and children. Yeah,
for sure. So really quickly, we never really dug into like your educational background. We always say, oh, he the doctor, he know everything type thing, especially Jared. He'd be like, I'm referring to the doctor. So give us, for anybody who may be interested in psychology, because it's so broad, and you cannot just go and get a bachelor's and think you're done. Like you have to do so much schooling. So talk about your background and how you got started.
Yeah. So in undergrad, I started and majored in psychology at FAMU, and pretty quickly when I decided to declare as a psychology major, my mentor, Dr. Chambers, shout out Dr. Chambers.
Hey, Dr. Chambers.
He's at the root of so many different stories in my life. But he very quickly said, you know, if you want to do anything in this field, you got to go to grad school. And so initially I was like, okay, I guess that's what I got to do. So I went on to get a master's in community psychology at FAMU. And at that point, there were still some limitations to what I could and could not do, right? There were still some things that I wanted to do that I wasn't necessarily eligible for. Like finishing with that degree in community psychology, you're not eligible for a license to practice anything just yet unless you take a few more extra classes. And so ultimately it was like, I should keep this journey going. I should continue on. If I want to do and provide the services in the way that I would like to and not have any ceilings over what I ultimately want to do, how I want to serve, then I need to continue this journey. And so I went on to complete this Ph.D. in counseling psychology, which is a subfield within psychology, which is just kind of specific to the counseling side of things. But within that, I was able to get like some clinical and diagnostic types of experiences with assessment and evaluations, and to where I really kind of was able to do a lot of different things. I can do counseling and therapy, but I also can do assessment and diagnosis and things of that nature. So it's been a journey, but somehow I ended up in this space that I'm in now and working with kids.
Okay. So how long did this take you? Like, how many years?
Yeah. Collectively?
Yeah.
So in terms of like collective years of school, 4 undergrad, 2 masters, 6 PhD. So 12? That's 12 years. Yeah.
So.
That's 12 years.
Yeah, postdoc. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
12
and then
years.
postdoc included. And if we're counting up to licensure, postdoc year, that was 2 years for me. So 14 years, which is wild to say out loud.
Yeah, it don't seem that long. Even though it was a long time, it don't seem that long. I stopped at 7. So kudos to you for getting your doctorate and actually pouring back into the community. So when you say evaluation, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because people might hear that and they're like, I don't know if you experience this when you tell people you're a psychologist, oh, you analyzing me. No, I work with kids. I don't care about what adults do. I'm not certified to even analyze you in that way. And no, I don't want to analyze you. So talk about what the evaluation process looked like. And also, do you have anything to debunk that myth when people hear you're in a psychology and psychologist, and probably especially for you because you have that counseling piece?
Yeah. So what an evaluation is essentially looking and getting a feel for how this child or person is functioning, right? So looking at how they're thinking and solving problems, how they are doing emotionally, behaviorally, and sometimes it's tests, sometimes it's listening to what parents have to say, sometimes it's listening to what teachers have to say, or just observing what's going on with the child, right? But we're getting a feel for what's going on with them, what the concerns might be, and we are getting a good look at how that may or may not fit with either diagnoses or just really figuring out ways that we can best support the child or individual that's in question, right? And in terms of like that myth of psychologists always analyzing folks, I don't know. I think it's, as a psychologist or somebody that's trained in mental health, oftentimes we're not like actively analyzing. I'm not always working, but I am always listening. Yeah. Right? I'm always listening. I'm always trying to understand what somebody's trying to communicate to me. Right. And sometimes that means I hear things that you're also not saying, right? I'm not analyzing you. I'm not reading your thoughts. But I'm actively paying attention to what someone has to say. Right. And I think we all honestly deserve someone that's going to listen to us in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now that you're going into private practice, what does that look like for you? Like if someone has concerns about their children, what are you able to do and provide to that family?
Yeah, good question. So I love that question specific to private practice because it shifts from like the parameters of what I was able to do before, right? So previously I was able to just kind of do what was in the confines of my organization, right? Which at that time was really just answering the question, does this child have autism or not, right? So doing the assessments and evaluations and getting a feel for what this child might need as it relates to autism, right? in private practice, there's a lot more flexibility and a lot less structure in that way, right? So I'm able to provide more. I'm able to extend myself to this family a whole lot more than within the confines of an organization, right? So I can do this assessment and getting a feel for this child's strengths and the supports that they might need. I can also do more in terms of like advocating for that support, helping this family to, I can go the next step and help this family to truly understand what, how they can best support their child, right? I can advocate within a school or within juvenile system. I can advocate within or help people within their community organization understand them a little bit more, as long as the family's okay with that type of communication, right? So there's so much more that I'm able to do within this private practice setting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a client needs counseling as well, you're able to do that as well. So after
Absolutely.
the evaluation process, because we know that takes a few hours throughout the day, you write the report, you review the results, you get the diagnosis, and it's kind of like it.
Yeah.
But if you see that a family will benefit from counseling, that student or that child, you're able to kind of add on that service.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can do therapy. I can do like group therapy, and sometimes that is an added benefit of maybe this kid is having some difficulties just connecting with other kids, right? Or maybe they are feeling anxious and feeling like it's only them. And so there's opportunities to also create community for this family or for this child, right? That can really help them to grow in other spaces as well.
Right. Okay, so I have a question around, like, not to get too political, but now it seems like politics is kind of coming into our field a little bit, especially surrounding autism. And so I think one of the reasons why the U.S. may have higher rates of autism because we have better ways of being able to identify language tests, whatever the case may be, and early on, whereas people in underdeveloped countries, they actually come here to get services for their kids. But then we have people saying, oh, it's a hoax, oh, it's not real, oh, you took Tylenol. And we know as the professionals working with kids, especially with autism, whether you want to talk about ADHD or any other diagnosis, but autism specifically, because that's been in language. How are you navigating that with your families?
So a lot of times I'm really not necessarily saying like I want to stay out of it, right? But because I do like to address it and like try to debunk some of those myths that are out there, like the idea that vaccines cause autism. Not true, right? So, but if a family's coming in with that, right, what I try to do is meet them where they are. Right? I'm not here to battle you back down. I'm not here to argue with this family. My job is to make sure that they understand their child, right? And so sometimes that means that we're leaving here saying, you know what? We don't know where this comes from just yet.
Right.
And we do know that this is going to be what can help your child the best. We do know that they might benefit from these supports at school, from talking to this person, right? And so I try to focus on the here and now and what's going to happen, what we can do to give that child the best possible outcomes in the future, right? It can be real easy to get bogged down in where did this come from? What's the cause? Nobody in my family has this. We've never seen that. When ultimately we don't know if that's true, right? We
they could have been missed.
Really, it's likely that somebody got missed, right? With the way the rates of autism today, there's so many people that got missed in generations before, and from our generation,
absolutely.
that got missed.
You got cousins. You like, oh yeah, they got missed.
Like the rates when we were kids were like 1 in 100 and something, right? Now today it's like 1 in 30, 32 or 33, something like that. But it's it's so much, we have so many more tools to identify. We've gotten so much better at identifying what autism is, what it looks like, that there's no way that previous generations are going to reflect it and see it in the same way that we do today.
Absolutely.
And so I try to give families a lot of grace in that way and just try to meet them where they are.
Okay. So have you ever encountered a family who struggles, I think kind of like in a Black community, like we want to pray things away or not acknowledge it or anything like that? How do you navigate families from that standpoint?
Yeah. So I think what I try to do is I try to make sure that they know that the intervention specifically, right, the things that we can do to best help kids, especially when they're really young, because that's when it feels like parents are the most protective over, like, don't put that on that baby. Yeah. That baby just needs some time, all of that type of stuff, right? Which sometimes it's true, right? Sometimes it's very true. And at the same time, what is this 30 minutes a week of speech therapy going to hurt?
Right.
He's going to go in there, that baby going to go in there and have a blast with that speech therapist.
Exactly.
Why not? Right? He's going to go in there and have a blast with this psychologist, a therapist, whomever he might be working with. This stuff isn't going to hurt them.
Anything.
We're not poking, we're not pulling, we're not doing anything to hurt this child. We're doing things to actively engage them, and frankly, we're here to have fun so that they can engage and pull and start to do a little bit more when it comes to their development, right? So I think that's a lot of times where I go is like, let's say, you know what? Let's say I am wrong. Let's say we go down this path and we figure out maybe tomorrow that I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm completely wrong. What did it hurt this child to have the speech therapy? Yeah. Exactly, right? Like, so that's kind of where I go a lot of times. Yeah. Because not every family is going to be happy to hear. Yeah. Your child has this delay, right? Or your child has this diagnosis. Regardless of how much I talk about what their child's doing really well, they don't want to hear anything wrong with their baby, right? And so I try to explain it as just a difference, and this is what we can do to best support that difference, right? And that's kind of where I stick with it. Okay. Yeah.
So, I'm like more in the school sector, so I kind of do what you do with parameters within a school. Right. So how can private practice and school systems kind of align? Because sometimes from my personal experience, not saying that you do this, but someone who's the school professional, a lot of times parents think we're out to get them, right? Yeah. I got this from a psychiatrist. I got this I paid $5,000 for this evaluation. Yeah. So it's right.
So they're coming in and waving that evaluation as a weapon, right?
Not really realizing sometimes a medical diagnosis and an educational diagnosis could be different. There's criteria you have to meet in the educational setting that you don't have to meet in the medical or private setting.
And vice versa.
So, So how can we better align to have good communication when the parents is coming in not demanding, but coming from more like an understanding perspective? Because they get that report and that's it. Or a doctor or a psychologist may write on a script on it, student needs IEP. And it's just like, and they come in like, oh, they said we need an IEP. It's like, well, we still have our systems. Yeah. So how can we better align?
Yeah. Good question. I'm going to flip the question back on you too. So don't let me forget to also ask you this question. So I think that when it comes to, so I'll think about this from like a systems level too, right? So the medical part of like psychiatry and psychologists within like those types of settings, which is where I'm coming from, right? Those systems are so strange, right? That all we have time to do is write that report. Yeah. Good luck, family. Right? Yeah. I hope this helps your child. That's probably literally what's written at the bottom of most of these reports. I hope this helps, right? Pretty much. This is a prayer. God bless. Right. Do your thing. And so it doesn't lend a lot of time to provide that care
Right.
and coaching, right? Because when I also thinking about it from a systems level, a lot of parents have their own experience with the educational system.
Yes.
And they are bringing that in when they show up to drop their baby off and they giving you this glare at open house.
Right.
They got their own experience with walking these halls within the school system. They got their own experience and mistrust about the way in which either themselves, people in their family have been treated within the school, especially for Black families, right? That said, right, I think now being in the private sector and having a little bit more say over the time that I can extend to a family, there are ways that I can work with the family, offer some additional coaching on like, maybe you don't want to go up there and cuss out the teacher and tell them, well, the psychologist said this, Dr. Ferguson said this, so I don't care what you say about. Maybe that's not the way we approach it, right? Maybe we can approach this in a way that is more collaborative versus confrontational, right? And so doing some coaching around that, providing some letters that more clearly communicate what I think is going on with this child and how the school can be helpful. Making a phone call, I think, is even the better step. Participating in an IEP meeting is a better way that I now in the private sector can be more engaged with what's going on with that family and more engaged with how I can best assist them getting what they need in the school system.
Right, that's good.
But I'm interested in what you think from the school perspective of like how private practice can be, or just the field, the medical side of the field outside of the schools can be collaborative instead of.
Right. I think educating a parent saying, hey, yes, I gave you this, but the school and the district or the state have different criteria. So they may or may not qualify for IEP. They may qualify for 504. And usually that's in the recommendations, IEP or 504, but really kind of giving them the language and the communication that say that they may not, they may or may not qualify because the standards are different. Because typically kids who are higher functioning, they normally don't meet criteria for an IEP. And because they don't necessarily need it. Because the whole purpose for IEP is, do your child need specialized instruction from a specialized education teacher to be successful? Are they performing 2 grade levels below or more? If that's the case, then absolutely. But for some reason, there's this misconception, like it's a magic wand and your kid is going to be automatically okay if they get an IEP, and that's not the case. Sometimes they can hold them back. Or sometimes they may just need consult services or accommodations like a 504. Like, okay, you just need to sit in the front of the classroom. You need to sit by the teacher. You need to be redirected. You don't necessarily need specialized instruction. So really just kind of breaking that down, I think that would be helpful. Even I did a evaluation, you know, this with Drew, my oldest, who's diagnosed with ADHD. Nobody ever went over the report with me. I didn't need that. But they just sent it in the email.
That's crazy.
They said, if you have any questions, call me. Did the whole evaluation, sat there for hours at a time, and nobody can break down. And so a lot of times that happens. The parents come in, and I have to interpret the results to them and what it means and have to explain somebody else's work. Do I have a problem with that? No, because I'm educating the parents. But could it be a little bit more streamlined so they're coming in knowledgeable and not dumbfounded because it's a whole bunch of big words in a report and it just says a diagnosis? Explain what that means. Explain what the tests mean, what they measure, how they performed. I know that because of my profession. And even with when I went through his evaluation, I created the battery. I was like, y'all gonna do this? You gonna do this? And it was like, and I was like, and so everybody doesn't have that language, you know? So really kind of informing them of even what the battery means and what it measures and what they're doing, because we have to do that at the school level. It's part of our job description. And I think it's a little bit more leeway in private. So I think we could streamline that practice together. I think it will be helpful. So they're not so rah-rah when they come to the school setting. Because we the enemy for whatever reason. It's just like, y'all the bad guys. It's like, so when we talk them off the ledge, then it's kind of cool. So we're talking in terms. So I didn't realize that we were saying abbreviations that people may not understand. So an IEP is an individualized educational plan. It's a legal document that provides services to your student or child. And so it's individualized. So whether they need academic support in reading, writing, or math, or social skills, we're able to provide that. And every year those goals are met or looked upon to see if your child is making progress or not. Do we need to change the goals? Do we need to increase them? Things like that. So that's what an IEP is for. And a 504 accommodation plan is also a legal document, but this just give accommodation. So you don't necessarily need specialized instruction. You're looking more at this like every 3 years. Every kid may not even have it for their whole matriculation in school. So it's not as intensive. So those are the difference between the two. They both are legal documents though. So going back to your private practice, what are some ages, what are the ages that you serve? And then, okay, when you hear private practice and a private evaluation, some people don't know that insurance can cover this evaluation. So walk us through both of those things.
So if you are looking for any type of psychological services for yourself, your child, as a family unit, right, then you can consult with your insurance company to see what services you're eligible for, right? Most insurance plans will cover a psychological evaluation, which essentially, like I said earlier, is just getting a feel for the strengths and supports that are going to be necessary for your child, right, or for yourself even. And so what for me, when it comes to evaluations, I can see kids as young as 16 months, all the way up to in young adulthood. So like 24 or so is kind of where my cutoff is in terms of my level of comfort and competence at this point. And when it comes to therapy, right, also something that can be covered by your insurance company, whether you are having that covered up front and just paying like a copay for your therapy services, or sometimes you can do what's called a super bill, which is essentially you are paying out of pocket and you're taking that bill to be reimbursed from your insurance company. Right? So it's kind of like if you were to, not necessarily like an HSA, but like if you were to buy, so I have like glasses, right, that weren't covered by where I got them from. I got them from Warby Parker. They weren't covered by the insurance company there, but I send them a receipt and they cover a certain amount, right? The same is true for therapy services when it comes to like that billing type of situation, right? And so I do therapy for kids from 8 years old to about 24 as well, to young adulthood, as well as offering things like parent coaching, parent training, as we talked about, whether that is like providing some advocacy for them getting through the educational system or coaching them on getting through the IEP or 504 situations, right? As well as just trainings to other professionals or to organizations. There's a lot of different services that I offer within my practice. So,
That's good. So this was a great conversation. Thank you for coming on, but also blessing the pod in this capacity. I don't get a chance to nerd out that much when it comes to psych stuff. Kendra, she's honorary psychologist by trade from both of us in our cases that we deal with. But I think it's also really good for parents to know their options. It's not a bad thing if you get your child evaluated. Even if they come out average, that's still good information that you know as a parent. You know how their brain processes information. You know how they learn, what works, what doesn't work. So even if they come out with no diagnosis, if you have a hunch, follow that hunch. If the teacher is saying your child, you getting these reports and all these other things, and you're doing all the things and they're not really responding, it's okay to get an evaluation. It's okay for it to come back and be like, okay, nothing's wrong. Great. Now you know how to help your child even better or whatever. Or they may benefit from like a social skills group or something like that. Or they may just need time. And then there are other times where things are wrong. That is okay too. There are services that you can qualify for that can help you. And it's people like you and I that are in your corner to kind of help you navigate that. So,
and not to cut you off, but that makes me think about this other kind of notion that we have in the Black community of like average as a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a
bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
We are a lot of us are average or below average.
Right. We got this notion that we got to be two times as good, right? And work 2 times as hard and all of that, right? Which frankly is true, right? And if your child does testing and comes out average, that is a good thing. That means they're doing exactly what we want, right? Exactly. That means they are functioning, they're doing exactly what we want to see from them, right?
And more than likely, parent, you are average. So don't put that don't put that on them. Like it's okay to be average. We all have strengths and weaknesses. And if we were to give anybody an IQ test, there would be some things that's really high and some things that are really low. I know my visual spatial skills are below average without even being tested, okay? So it's just like we all have strengths and weaknesses, and that's okay. But that doesn't change the fact that you won't be successful or anything like that. You can have an average IQ and low average to average IQ and be totally fine, be successful. So it's lead the scores where they at. Like, stop. Your child don't need special education if they have average scores. Because that's another thing. So, but that's a different episode for a different day.
For sure.
So, speaking of that, let's have some mama juice. And so, we kept it simple. You know, we're calling this psych to psych because we're both psychologists. And we're going to just sip on some red wine. Long day of recording. But, you know, sometimes after getting so much in, you just need to woosah.
That's right.
Because in our roles, it's easy. Well, in the beginning for me, I internalized everything. I wanted to save the whole world. I was telling Jerry, we need to adopt this child, and I need to figure this out. Not so much now because I learned how to compartmentalize. But in the beginning, it was very rough for me. I didn't think I was going to last as a psychologist. So sometimes we just need a little.
Absolutely.
So, cheers to psych. Kendra will be very proud of my description. And so if this is your first time listening, Mama Juice is her favorite segment. Usually she curates a drink for our guests, and it has special ingredients and all that. But me and Fred don't need that. So red wine it is.
Just a little woosah.
A little breath. So Mama's Corner is my favorite segment. So this is an opportunity where our guests typically write in and ask questions, or we could, not our guests, our listeners, excuse me, or we connect with our guests further. And so I want to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about your practice. If you have a website, if you have any social media, kind of plug that here so people can find you.
For sure. So the name of the practice is Grove Psychological Services. And so, as I mentioned already, offering psychological services all-encompassing for children and families. So that means evaluations, diagnostic, looking from ages 16 months up to 24 years of age, therapy for children and adolescents and young adults from around age 8, maybe 7, all the way up to 24 years of age, primarily focusing in areas like anxiety, autism, ADHD, executive functioning, transitions in life, as well as identity issues. I love to help kids figure out where they kind of fall, how they align in the world, especially as it relates to social identities. And as well, the Grove also just doesn't put a cap on where growth ends, right? We are continuing to evolve, continuing to grow from childhood into adolescence into young adulthood. And so eventually, I also want to start to do some men's groups, a men's retreat. So a lot of things that are coming, that are forthcoming for the Grove. And so that's what I'm doing right now, as well as offering some consultation or trainings to other professionals and organizations as well. So Growth Grove Psychological Services, you can find us at the Growth Grove Psych. That is PSYCHCH, excuse me, .com. That again, that's the Growth Grove Psych. PSYCH is psych, .com. And you can see all the services that we offer there.
That's good. Well, I'm really excited for your new venture. I
could not do this without her.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the brains, but she's doing all
I'm
the behind
the
the scenes. Yeah, you the work. You the work. Okay?
I'm the work. She's the brains.
So I'm excited for this journey, and I'm happy to see you take that leap of faith, because I know it's hard to go from like stability and knowing exactly what you're going to do to private practice and doing things on your own.
For sure.
Kudos to you. We talked about this. So again, thank you for joining us on the podcast as always, but I just want to say very proud of you. I know we talked about this years ago. Felt like a long time ago, even from undergrad, and to see you do this, it's just amazing. So
appreciate it.
You know, you have the greatest support, whatever you need, and if you need like help with like talking to the schools or whatever, I'm here for you for that, to give you that language. But thank you for joining us. Until next time, mamas. Bye.